Good evening, I'm Pinky Webb. Tonight, we ask the questions, we tackle the issues, we clarify matters, and we get on point. Former President Rodrigo Duterte's statements at the Senate Blue Ribbon hearing yesterday echoed his pronouncements during his incumbency. The Senate President says this time they were made under oath, giving them a more serious tone.
Ang pinakaiba kahapon, lahat ng binitiwan niyang salita kahapon ay under oath. Pinanumpaan. At sinabi niyang yan ay totoo sa abot ng kanyang nalalaman. Hindi marahil pwedeng sabihin biro pa kung ano man ang pinanumpaang sinabi niya.
Senate President Chiz Escudero, however, refuses to comment on what charges may be filed against Duterte, saying he wants the Senate to remain open to the former president.
Bilang tagapangulo ng Senado, ayokong i-prejudge ang bagay na yan. Nais namin magsilbi bilang bihikulo para ito ay may lahat sa publiko. Dahil kung makikita nyo, dito siya sa Senado pinili na mag-appear. Dito niya sa Senado piniling sumumpa at magsalita. Gusto kong panatiling bukasyon.
Escudero says he leaves it to the proper authorities to determine whether Duterte's statements at the chamber are enough to file charges against him. And joining us tonight, Senate President Chiz Escudero. Senate President, so good to see you again. Welcome to the show.
Hindi pa nagbibihis.
Hindi ka pa nagbibihis. Huwag po kayong magulat. Yung nakita nyo kanina, yung suot ni Senate President, ay ito pa rin. Welcome to the show
It's
again.
nice to be back. It's nice to be here.
And it's nice to have you and such perfect
Oo
timing.
nga, na-miss kita.
Nawala ako. Nawala ka din ng ilang taon.
Medyo, nanahimik lang. Hindi naman nawala, nanahimik.
Senate President, what are your
Parang
thoughts
di bagay,
about...
cheese na lang.
Hindi pwede. Senate President pa rin. SP, what were your thoughts during yesterday's hearing? Just an overall assessment. Were you satisfied with how it was conducted?
Yes, as best as could be done. Ito unang pagkakataon na nag-attend ng dating Pangulo. Ito unang pagkakataon na sumampa siya. Ito unang pagkakataon given his personality. Hindi ba na usually mayor siya, naging presidente siya, siya ang hari, siya nasusunod. Biglang mag-a-attend ng hearing at tawag sa lahat ay Sir, Ma'am at sumusunod. So as best as could be, I was satisfied with the hearing. Watching it afterwards, you could have wished for more, of course, but I don't blame you.
Always in hindsight, no?
Palagi naman, it's always 2020.
Pero si Senator Coco Pimentel, were you satisfied with how he handled it? I ask you that because there were instances, for example, when Senator Risa Ontiveros had to ask the chairman, Senator Coco Pimentel, to, she said, this is our house. Diba? Atin ito bahay natin ito. Tama ba yung parang pagmumura ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte? That's one, sir.
You have to understand, Senator Pimentel is the minority leader. He does not handle committees, and it's been a while that he's handled committees. Unlike Risa, who has a committee. Nakita niyo naman yung mga investigation niya kay Alice Guo. But this is the first time, I think, Senator Pimentel will be chairing a committee after nearly or over 2 years. So, kanya-kanyang style yun, kung maluwang, mahigpit. But at the end of the day, Senator Pimentel still ruled properly matapos hilingin at humiling si Senator Risa Ontiveros na ganto, kinatigan naman niya, kinampihan naman niya.
Would you have allowed that, the former president, to use foul language? And I think you had it counted, no? Or you asked kung ilang beses?
According to my staff, 21 times.
Okay.
21 times daw nagmura yung dating Pangulo. As part of the narration, I would agree and allow it. But as part of his statements inside the committee, that could have been corrected and or removed from the records. Ano yung pagkakaiba ng as part of the narration? Ikaw ba naman ang makakita? Nung mayor ako, nagpunta ako doon, nakita ko yung bangkay, bla bla bla, nagmura.
Sinabi ko, ganon.
Kinukwento niya yung nangyari, nagmura siya as part of the narration. Yes. Pero kung nagmura siya mismo habang nagsasalita o may kausap bilang pagsagot sa tanong, ibang usapan yun.
So doon sa 21 times,
Hindi ko pa nabibilang kung ilan yung part of narration at ilan. Wala pa kami doon.
would you say half? A little more? Because you said something during the
Roughly,
kapihan.
probably roughly, or a little less than half.
A little less than half is what, sir?
A little less than half yung hindi part of the narration.
I see.
Probably, again, but don't hold me to it because I haven't actually counted which ones. Now, ang issue pa nga kaninang pinag-usapan namin, paano mo ilalagay ngayon sa transcript? So, nilagay na lang namin as is, kesa mapintasan pa kami na may ginawa kami doon. So, nilagay na lang namin muna as is. Again, we're a plenary body. A member can say, we should remove it from the records and expunge it from the records. It'll be voted upon, and it will be decided accordingly.
How about the heated exchange between the former president and Senator Risa Ontiveros? There were times, nung nakita niyo ho ba yun at medyo ninervyos ho ba kayo?
Hindi, kasi buong tiwala ako kay Senator Risa that she will be able to hold her ground. And she actually did, to her credit. She would be able to hold her ground, and she did. To be fair to both Senator Risa and the former president, sila mismong dalawa, medyo hindi naman nila pinaabot sa puntong yun na magsisigawan at mag-aaway na talaga sila.
But the former president raised his voice at one point to Senator Risa Ontiveros.
That is correct, which happens also in some of the hearings. Minsan, pinapaalalahanan yung miyembro, yung resource person, minsan pinapaalalahanan ng chairman. I'll give you an example, Pinky. The former president asked a member of the Senate a question. Usually, pag may resource person na kino-question ng isang senador, papalag yung senador, hindi ba?
I was gonna go there. Isa pa po
Ito,
yun.
sumagot siya eh.
Si Senator Bato.
Oo, so-
okay. Now, let's give them some context, sir.
No, kung yung tinanong mismo na dapat sana hindi, dahil nga resource person sila, ay sumagot, sino ba naman yung ibang miyembro para magreklamo para sa kanya?
But you have rules. You have rules to follow. Resource persons, such as the former president, cannot ask questions to the senators. Hindi ho ba?
That is correct.
So you have to, if there's anything you want to say, you say it to the chairman. What the former president did was he asked a question to Senator Bato, 2 or 3 questions in successive questions na sinagot po ni Senator Bato. That's my question, sir. Why did you not follow your rules?
No, it's not a question of not following rules, Pinky. Walang nakalagay doon sa rules namin na walang specific rule na bawal magtanong ang resource person.
I see.
Wala namang ganong rule eh.
But
Kaya lang,
isn't that an internal rule at
since
least, sir?
practice and tradition is part of our rules, well, practice and tradition would dictate na hindi ginagawa yon. So there is no specific or particular rule violated. And besides,
That's
like
so.
I told you, kapag kami ganun, usually yung tinatanong ng senador, napanood ko yan noon kay Senator Trillanes, kung di ako nagkakamali. Yung resource person, I think that was now Congressman Pulong Duterte. Tinatanong siya. Si Senator Trillanes mismo, yung Mr. Chairman, walang karapatan ng resource person, tanungin ako. Nagreklamo siya. Ito yung tinatanong, di naman nagreklamo, sumasagot eh. So siguro yung ibang mga miyembro ng komite, siya nga, hindi nagreklamo eh. Ba't ako
Yeah, but
magreklamo
it
para
begs
sa
the
kanya?
question, shouldn't Senator Coco Pimentel called on the former president to say, I'm sorry, Mr. President, you are not allowed to ask questions to the senators?
He could have, Pinky, but every chairman has his or her own way of wielding the, shall we say, the gavel, being presiding officer. Minsan loose, minsan tight, minsan strict, minsan hindi. Depende sa chairman yun.
And overall, you were happy with that?
Ang importante, na-preserve niya yung order, hindi nagkagulo, walang nag-walk out, nakapagsalita ng malaya yung mga resource persons, natanong sila ng mga diretsong tanong. Again, Pinky, if there's one, I would say, accomplishment of the Senate as an institution, it's for the first time, the President repeated everything he has been saying for the past 6 years when he was President. This time under oath, not jokingly, not as a speech, not as part of an interview. It was sworn to by him. And as a lawyer, he knows exactly what that means.
Very important, you said, not jokingly. We're going to talk about that after the break. Welcome back. You're watching On Point, still with us, Senate President Chiz Escudero. Before I leave pala that conversation and
Yes.
ask your thoughts about what the President said, and you said not jokingly, balikan ko lang po ito. Let's put up that message or that text from former Senator Ping Lacson, where he said that yesterday, the upper chamber was invaded by the former President of the Republic. This came out in X, no? Former Twitter. Only one consistently and steadfastly stood up to preserve the dignity of the Philippine Senate. She happens to be a woman who answers present during a roll call. Her name, Risa Ontiveros. I'd like you to react to that. Imagine saying, one, invaded by the former president. I was actually thinking about it, Senate President, and I was saying, he did invade it. But siya din po, one way or another, he's really the central figure here. I mean, everyone was waiting for him to actually, will he make it to the Senate yesterday or not?
You're putting me in a difficult spot, Pinky, because Senator Ping, former Senator Lacson, is a senior member of the Senate. But okay lang naman na purihin si Senator Risa, pero hindi naman siguro bagay na tirahin niya yung ibang miyembrong nandun. Pwede naman pumuri nang wala kang hinihila pababa. And having said that, again, this is the first time that the President actually spoke. Give him some break. Baka naman unang beses niya magsalita, ginanahan ng konti at maraming sinabi. If his definition of that is in-invade ang Senado, well, I disagree with that. Number two,
Wait a minute, why do you disagree with the word invaded?
hindi niya kasi nagbigay kami ng pagkakato. Ang tagal niya nang hinihintay sa kamera, Pinky. Ang tagal nang hinihintay sa magsalita, under oath kaugnay sa mga bagay na ito. Nangyari lamang yan sa Senado kahapon. The Senate provided a venue.
Right. But did he invade it or not?
I don't see, sana hindi lang namin pinagsalita. Sana, huwag ka na magsalita, hintayin mo na lang na may tatanungin kami. For 2 hours, Pinky, walang nagtanong sa kanya.
Sa umpisa.
Hindi, ang punto ko nga, walang nagtanong sa kanya for the first 2 hours of the hearing.
Actually, I was wondering if he was still there in the
Exactly
beginning.
the point, di ba? So, asan yung gusto mong pasalitain, pinagsalita? Nung una, akala ko nga walang magtatanong. Di ba, nakalimutan mo na nga nandun siya.
Tight yung mga shots, sir, eh. So I didn't have...
No, he was there all throughout.
I was actually wondering.
So, nasaan yung invade? Nabigyan siya ng pagkakataon magsalita sa second half na lang nga eh. Actually.
Well, una yung opening statement niya na nagkaroon ho ng a little bit of a problem, no? It seemed between Senator Coco, kasi Senator Coco wanted the families victims to start. Kasi sabi niya, we want to talk about, ano nga ba yung mga illegal terms, malfeasance, nonfeasance. Yun yung sinabi niya.
Misfeasance, malfeasance, nonfeasance.
Yun.
Three types of crimes.
So he wanted to start with that and start with the families of the alleged victims. And then it was Senator Bato, I believe, and Senator Tolentino who said, or maybe Senator Jinggoy Estrada who said, in deference to the former president, he looks, baka inaantok. Yun pa nga yung ginamit na salita, baka inaantok na siya, paunahin na muna natin siya at pasalitain.
Actually, doon lang ako disagree. Hindi siya inaantok. Hindi siya inaantok na, inaantok pa. Kasi nung bandang hapon, gusto na nga niya tumuloy-tuloy hanggang madaling araw.
Sabi nga niya, huwag yun ako pabalikin dito. Tapusin na natin to.
Sanay, yun kasi yung body clock niya eh.
Yeah.
I mean, he usually wakes up. But anyway, to answer your question directly.
Okay, so you invaded. You don't agree he invaded
I
it?
don't agree. I don't agree. That may be his opinion of what happened. But as a member of the institution right now, I cannot agree. Because again, the Senate provided a venue, an opportunity by which the President can be heard, can be asked questions, can be face to face with some of the victims' families, and as well as his accusers.
It's not a question, sir, of whether he was invited and he didn't show up or you provided a venue. That was obvious. But I think from the time that questions were asked to the former president, it was mostly him.
But that's his personality, Pinky. Again, that's his personality.
Okay, let's go to the second part.
He usually takes control of any conversation.
And did he, sir? Would you say he did?
With some, yes. With some, no. With Senator Risa, clearly no. With his allies, probably yes. Right? But with the chairman, I would disagree. Senator Jinggoy asked him direct questions, which cannot be interpreted as simply friendly, but asked him direct questions about EJK, about the war on drugs, aside from his questions to Senator Laila, which he answered to.
Okay. Let's go to the second part before we move on
Yes,
to
madam.
the statements made by the former president. When Senator Ping said, stood up to preserve the dignity of the Philippine Senate.
Ano?
Sabi po niya, only one
Siguro nire-refer niya yung
consistently.
pagmumura. Siguro nire-refer niya yung pinoint out ni Senator Risa na pagmumura. I think you better ask Senator Ping what he meant by those things because I cannot comment
Right, I will.
on
but
what he...
I wanted
on
you to
what he-
react on that.
No, my reaction, I think he's referring to yung pagmumura. But again, we talked about that earlier. As part of the narration, probably pwede.
Yeah.
But as part of his answer to questions, no.
You don't agree with that. All
Again,
right.
we should not be desensitized with that. Hindi tayo dapat mamanhid sa ganun.
Yeah, I think you said that also during the kapihan this
Yes.
morning. Hindi tayo dapat masanay sa ganung pananalita din. Let's talk about what he said. Ito na po. Kasi ganun pa rin may nag-iisip na umamin na ang dating Pangulo. Meron din namang nagsasabi na joke lang yan. Sabihin po natin. Let's listen to some of what the former president said.
Lahat itong sa right side ko, dumaan ito ng Chief of Police Director. Puro commander ng death squad yan. Yung isang senador, yan nakaupo dyan, si Senator De La Rosa. Death squad rin yan. Because they were police directors handling the controlling crimes in the city. So pag sinabi mong death squad, it's a very loose term na ginagamit mo lang parang gano'n sila. Lahat yan sila, ito, si Dandaw, ayan nagdadasal kasi sa kasalanan niya siguro. Magkano bang ilan bang pinatay mo?
SB, doon sa naging statement ni former President Rodrigo Duterte, how do you digest or understand
Hindi siya yung may problema doon, Pinky. Ang may problema doon yung mga kababayan natin na nandun sa loob ng Senadong tumatawa. Kasi marami naman siyang dalang kasama doon Who have been, I think, desensitized at namanhid na ron. I agree with the point raised during the hearing that killing, said by the priest, I believe, killing
Father
is a
Flavio.
serious matter. It is not something to be trifled with, much less laugh about. Now, if you listen to the former president's statement, better yet, as I said earlier, Pinky, if you read it, actually it will have more meaning. He's not joking.
He's not.
Because death squad, their debate, I saw the hearings. The debate was about nomenclature. And even those accusing the former president admitted it. Na Davao Death Squad is simply a name given to it. Ikaw, Pinky, kung magtatayo ka ng sindikato, gagawin mo bang Pinky Crime Syndicate? Pinky Drug Syndicate? Yan ba yung papangalan mo? Papangalan mo siguro Lucky South o kung ano man, di ba? Whatever, di ba?
Okay.
No, whatever. But you will never call it what it is. So tingin mo ba pag nagmi-meeting yung mga miyembro ng Davao Death Squad, kung meron talaga, may tarpaulin sila sa likod, first meeting of the DDS? Wala naman So for you to say na may Davao Death Squad, yun basically ang sinasabi niya, that there's no such thing as a Davao Death Squad. But if you say that killings were done, then yes.
So you're saying that the former president, said there is no Davao Death Squad, pero may killing.
He said in later clips, if you
Hindi,
have
we
it...
will go there. I
he
wanted to
said it.
cut. Hihimayin ko to para sa inyo. Yung una po niyang sinabi na may Davao Death Squad, but it's a loose term.
Which he said himself.
So if,
It would be
anong
nice
ibig sabihin
now,
po
watching
nun?
it now, again, reading it would be better, I think. But, well, meaning killings, which he admitted later on, may mga pinatay, may mga namatay. Di ba? Ang sabi niya noong una, tinanong siya kung may reward ba. Sinagot niya, ay wala, may mga pera to mga to.
Pulis sila, bakit ko sila bibigyan ng reward? Yun
Sinabi
pong
rin niya yun.
niya.
Again, if you read it, it's going to be different.
With that statement made by the President, yung pito dito sa kanan, may Davao Death Squad. Davao Death Squad is a loose term. How do you understand that? Because kayo po abogado eh.
Again, I refused to answer that earlier when I was asked, Pinky. Why? Because I don't want to sit as judge on that issue. Why? Prosecutors listen to it. This is a sworn statement. There's a saying there's a Latin maxim that basically says, confession is the queen of evidence. An admission is the queen of evidence. Yun ang pinakamataas na uri ng ebidensya, pag-amin. Ngayon, nasa mga prosecutors, nasa mga abogado, nasa state lawyers, kung paano nila i-interpretahin yun.
Okay.
On the other side, the argument will be, I'm trying to be a lawyer here now, but not advocating a side. There is no corpus delicti, there is no body of the crime. Sino ba yung sinasabing pinatay? Nasaan yung katawan? Nasa prosecutors na yun kung paano nila i-handle yan, kung gusto nilang i-handle.
Alright.
Nasa defense na rin yun kung paano nila i-handle yun.
Kasi kaya ko gusto sana himayin, SP, kasi nga yun ang una niyang sinabi. And then he said something after that. Kasi kung pagbabasihan mo yung una niyang sinabi, Davao Death Squad, it's a loose term. So, it means nothing really. Parang ganun po eh. So,
either it's a loose term or again, you don't call it as such.
opo.
I mean, kung may death squad ka, Pinky, you will not call it the Pinky Death Squad. You might not even call it a death squad. Di ba, I think in the testimony of Las Cañas before, he said they were called Lambada Boys. That was in the previous hearings of the Senate pa. So, DDS was, I think, a term coined by media, if I remember correctly. Not really by... Wala naman sigurong umaming siya yung author nun, na nagpangalan nun. Pero
Okay.
I don't think they themselves thought about that
Okay,
or would do that.
let's move forward to the second statement
Yes,
the
ma'am.
President said that I wanted you to hear and get your reaction on that. Let's listen.
Talagang niyayari ko. Pero wag mo naman, mga pulis kawawa naman. Ha? Meron akong death squad. Death squad. Pero hindi yung mga pulis. Sila rin yung mga gangster. Yung isang
Mr. Chair?
gangster, utusan ko. Patayin mo yan, kaya kung hindi mo patayin yan, patayin kita ngayon.
How would you appreciate that statement made by the former president? Okay, tinanggal na yung mga pulis. Ngayon, gangsters daw. Pero uutusan niya isang gangster, patayin ito at kung hindi ako papatay sa inyo. What is that, sir?
What do you mean by what is that, Pinky?
What did the president, the former president, mean by that? Does it mean that there was a group? Does it mean
Again.
there was a Davao Death Squad, sir?
Again, Pinky, I will repeat. Admission is the queen of evidence. So is that an admission? Is that an admission sufficient to file a case and to convict? Do you need the body of the crime? Sino yun? Sino yun? O ang gagawin mo ba? Lahat ba ng namatay nung mayor siya? Babato mo na lang sa kanya? Yun ba yung gagawin ng prosecutor? I do not know. Kasi kung wala naman tao, you can't accuse a person of murder without alleging who he murdered. I mean, paano kita akusang nagnakaw kung hindi ko alam kung sinong ninakawan mo at magkano? Paano mo aakusan ng isang tao ng pagpatay kung hindi mo alam kung
Okay,
sino?
then let me summarize this part of our conversation. Was it an admission?
Yes, I think so. Is it sufficient?
Yeah, ibang
usapan
usapan po yan. Pero it was an admission.
And I think he has no qualms about it.
Yeah.
I think he's proud of it. Whether you agree with it or not, I don't. But he was proud of the fact that he gave that admission.
We're going to take another short break. Stay tuned. This is On Point. Welcome back. You're watching On Point. I'm Pinky Webb. Still with us is Senate President Chiz Escudero. So, Another point I wanted to ask you, you being a lawyer, is that when the former president said, I take full moral and legal responsibility on the drug war, I think he must have also said for the policemen involved in the drug war. Doon po kasi nagtanong si Senator Risa, do you take full moral and legal responsibility for the death of Kian, for the death of Kulot, yung mga yon? Ano ang ibig sabihin at pwede ba na ang presidente will take full moral and legal responsibility for the deaths of, let's just say, 6,000?
For a speech, probably. But legally, if he admits complicity in the commission of those crimes, then he's a co-conspirator. If he admits that he's the most guilty, that does not make the least guilty innocent, nor will the least guilty be acquitted. Nag-a-apply lang yan, Pinky, kapag ka 5 kayong gumawa ng krimen at bumaligtad yung isa, umamin, siya yung nag-state witness.
Right.
So, baka maabsuelto siya, mas mababa yung parusa niya. Eh, ito, hindi. But I throw the question back at the former president. How will he operationalize that statement? It's good copy, why not? I take full responsibility. Kawawa naman yung mga police. But how does he intend to operationalize that, Pinky?
And can it be operationalized?
He's a lawyer, then he should know. Why would he say that if he has no plan of doing it? That's why I'm
Well,
interested.
maybe it's good copy, as you mentioned a while ago. It's something nice to
But
say,
again,
something nice to hear.
So the question, let me be more specific. Yung mga nag-attend sa hearing, magandang tanong yan. Yung mga dating chief of police daw ng Davao, mga dating PNP chief daw, ni isa ba sa kanila may kaso for the EJ case and the drug war during the 6 years of former President Duterte? Si Pangulong Duterte ba may kaso? Ang alam ko, wala. Ang may mga kaso, Pinky, ang mga nakakulong, ang mga dinismiss sa service,
ng mga pulis.
yung mabababang pulis, na akala ko ba, kawawa talaga sila. Kung pikit mata silang sumunod sa isang bagay na akala nila ay legal o mapoprotektahan sila.
So wala pong kahihinatnan ang sabihin ng dating Pangulo na I take full moral and legal responsibility unless he says more to that. Yun nga, I'm complicit. I am guilty
Wala
of
ako
this.
nakikita. Pero
okay.
how, if it takes, again, madadamay lang siya sa kanila. Hindi niya sila maabsuelto. Hindi porkit inamin niya na siya yung nag-utos, kunwari lang. Absuelto na sila. Sino bang nagkalabit ng gatilyo? Hindi naman siya So the participation of each was necessary. So again, that's why I asked the question earlier. How does he operationalize that? Kasi yung mga guest namin kanina, wala sa kanilang nakakulong. Wala, yung matataas na opisyal ng PNP nung panahon niya,
Yesterday.
wala sa kanilang may kaso.
Okay. Maybe siguro to put another question on this is, does the policy of the former president on the war on drugs and his subsequent statements make him accountable in terms of possibly being jailed? Ganun na lang.
The only
Yung
way to do
policy
that,
kasi.
the only way to do that is for cases to be filed and for the court to determine the existence of probable cause, and after such determination to issue a warrant of arrest. That's the only way to do it. There's no other legal way to do it. I'll give you an example, Pinky. Yung pumirma ng memorandum on double barrel was not the former president. It's former PNP Chief De La Rosa. So it's not him.
Yeah.
So natanong ba siya or did he say, I ordered then Chief PNP Bato to issue that? I was the one who wrote it as a lawyer. Walang ganun, ha? Walang ganun. So, kung inaabsuelto niya yung mga police, kabilang, I guess, yung mga PNP chief niya dati, ano ibig sabihin nun? Kaya nga sabi ko, how does he operationalize that?
Yeah.
I, as a lawyer too, is a far older, probably better lawyer, more experienced in the courtroom than I did when I was practicing. How does he intend to operationalize taking full responsibility? Legal and moral responsibility. For all the policemen, wag yung mga laya, Pinky. Wag yung mga walang kaso. yung mga polis na may kaso, yung mga polis na nakakulong, yung mga polis na natanggal sa serbisyo, how does he operationalize taking responsibility for that?
Then that question should have been asked by some of the senators.
Probably, but
Maybe you should have shown up.
but it's not the first hearing. It's not the first
When
and
is
last
the next hearing, sir?
Wala pa, Pinky, kasi undas. Natsyempohan na undas. At pag-resume namin, morning and afternoon session ng budget namin for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So the earliest the next hearing would be, siguro ko mga late November. Ngayon, pag sinabi mong ba't ang tagal naman, well, kalahati ng sambayanan, Pinky, nagre-reklamong puro kami investigasyon, wala na kaming ginagawang trabaho daw. So,
Tsaka nasa kalendaryo nyo talaga yung
we
budget.
balance the functions of the Senate. We have legislative functions involving crafting of laws, like the budget. We also have oversight functions, which includes ito, yung pag-iimbestiga.
Very quickly, though, let's talk
Yes,
about the
ma'am.
budget and especially flood control projects. Because of the recent rain, especially that hit the Bicol region, and even Calabarzon, kailangan ho ba talaga, is there a need to look into the totality of why this is happening to many parts of the country? For example, is it climate change? Is it urbanization? Is it still our kababayans in high-risk, living in high-risk areas? Are the flood control projects just not efficient? Do we not pump enough money into flood control projects?
Those are the
sir?
exact same questions, Pinky, I would like to ask the departments, and hopefully they will be able to answer, but I doubt it. The executive has to meet and discuss what is the answer to those 5 questions of yours. For sure, it's a combination of all. Yung design natin ng mga flood control projects, iisa lang. Whether it's a river control, a seawall, a canal, isa lang. One size fits all. Hindi pwedeng ganon. Depende sa size ng river, sa lawak ng river, sa history ng river, yung kapal at taas at lalim niyan. Di ba, hindi pwedeng one size fits all lang. Pangalawa, with climate change, you need climate adaptation. So, kailangan ba natin mas makapal na, mas mataas, mas makapal na bakal ba ang kailangan? O yung dating bakal pa rin ang gagamitin natin?
But is that being done, sir?
That's the question we will be
Is
asking.
that something you can find out?
That's the question we will be asking, Pinky, because you know why? It changes. From time to time, it changes. But usually, let's say yung kapal ng kalye, it changes. Iba barangay road, iba municipal road, iba provincial road, iba national road. But these specs have been there for the longest time.
Is it time to revisit them?
It should be. Actually, ginawa ko niya noon pa tungkol sa highway natin, kaya kumapal yan. Kumapal na yung highway natin.
Which highway?
Yung mga national roads natin.
see.
Makapal na yan, di tulad ng dati. Dati ang kapal niyan, 6 inches lang eh. Ngayon, mahigit doble na yata yung kapal niyan. Para tumagal. At saka alam naman nating overweight lahat ng truck. Wala naman tayong mga weighing bridges. So, pakapalit na lang natin kaysa nagbibitak-bitak yung semento. At ako sampa na may nagnakaw dyan sa infrastructure project yan. But the same is true for flood control projects. Now, a flood control project, unlike a bridge, should be treated, I guess, the same. What does that mean? You never build half a bridge. It's useless. So if it's a flood control project, you don't build half a dike too. It has to be the whole dike for it to work. Kung hindi, masisira lang yung kalahating ginawa mo, sisimula mo na naman uli.
At sayang ang pera. At pagod.
Sayang ang pera. Pero minsan,
At perwisyo.
hindi naman kasi kasya yung pera para gawin yung buo. Pangalawa, hindi rin kasya yung absorptive capacity ng agency. Yung ganun kahaba, 2 years gagawin yan,
But
3 years.
that's not acceptable. Isn't that not?
No, what I'm saying is, again, are they planning for that?
Okay.
Are they looking at that? Those are the things you would want to know.
It would be interesting to find out, sir, more details
It'll
on
be
that. Kasi-
it'll be in plenary debates, I assure you.
Because that's really something, kumbaga kasi sir, parang palala ng palala yung sitwasyon. It could be so many factors. Obviously, not an expert on this. I'd like to find out more about it. But what we see is yung paghihirap po ng ating mga kababayan na patuloy nasa
I think it's a
tubig baha.
confluence of factors, Pinky, to be fair. Under-designed yung ating mga flood controls, hindi naglilinis o hindi nililinis yung mga daluyan ng tubig, hindi nagde-dredge during summer, which we do in Sorsogon, for example. Kulang yung ginagawa, kalahati na river control lang o 1/4 na river control. Sinabi may nagawa pero ganun pa rin. Climate change has occurred, mas mataas, mas maraming tubig. And fourth, which was happened to Sorsogon, kaya nagbaha kami ng ilang oras. Kasi sumaba yung high tide sa buhos ng ulan, which nobody could actually predict.
You can't predict that, but you can assume the worst case scenario. Hindi ho ba?
Yes, but the flood control projects and the canals weren't built that way yet. Weren't built
Way
for that
back.
situation yet, way back. Kasi di ba, if it ain't broke, why fix it? So hindi mo naman gagawin yun eh. Andun pa yung kanal eh. Andun pa yung flood control, di naman nasira eh.
Parang kailangan ho talaga, sir, master plan.
Kailan pa? So in the meantime...
Kahapon.
Kahapon pa
10
talaga.
years ago dapat.
Exactly.
All right. Senate President Chiz Escudero, pleasure to have you, sir. And
Likewise,
again, good to
Pinky.
see you. And
I miss-
good luck, sir.
I miss this kind of engagements.
Thank you, sir. And thank you for joining us tonight. That's On Point. Join us again tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel. I'm Pinky Webb.